reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. MMO Reporter's PAX 2012 coverage is brought to you by Guild Launch. Slay more dragons with Guild Launch. I'm standing in front of the wonderful Firefall booth. Again, one of the biggest booths at PAX. You guys tend to do this. It's your thing.
Big.
So we're talking about Firefall with Matt DeWald, community manager for the game. We've talked for a few years now, and really have seen the game grow from, I think the first time we saw it was in alpha, and then it's moved on. It was getting into the start of closed beta at PAX East. You were just, everybody who was at PAX East got to get into the closed beta, and now you're at the point, you're far enough along in development where no more wipes, you got the store open. That must feel like a great accomplishment.
It's huge for us. You know, we've been working on this game for over 7 years, including the founding of the company, and to actually have a game to the point where we actually have a store launched. We've made our first dollar. We can actually look at our investors and go, look, we can make money. This is a real thing. It's not just a fantasy. It's a really big thing. And just the support of the community has been great. We've got a lot of things planned where this isn't the end by any means. We actually, we think of this as the first step to the beginning of the forever, right? Because we have unlimited content that we could create. We continually want to increase this game and add more and more things, and this is just the start.
So as the community manager, I mean, you get to experience, the Firefall community is not like your typical MMO community, because Firefall is not your typical game that pulls for MMO players. So what's it like managing a community that's quite varied, more so than maybe a lot of other MMOs would see?
You're absolutely right. It's tough because Firefall has so many aspects from so many different games. We draw in people from those games. So you have your MMO gamers, you have your shooter gamers, you have your RTS gamers who are interested in collecting resources and crafting and building things. And there's a lot of different people and a lot of different personalities to deal with. But I think that overall, because the game meshes so well, the community tends to mesh so well. We do have a little bit of segregation between hardcore esports shooters and PvE players who want more open world content. But I think we're managing that, and we can continue to develop content that satisfies both those needs.
Okay, you mentioned esports. I have to mention it. Holy cow, the kit that you've put out now for people who want to shoutcast esports, for people who want to I mean, that is a huge, huge undertaking to get that done. What sort of precipitated getting such an in-depth tool built?
So a lot of us at Red 5 play competitive shooters, and we really looked at other competitive shooters, and we built those tools on our own before, right? We played Tribes, we played Quake, we've built those mods and all those things in order to create that kind of toolkit. We thought, well, as a developer, why not include these things? We have more control over the game than the gamers do, especially in our closed system because it's an MMO. We really can't release some of the tools we need. So we thought we have to release quality tools to allow broadcasters to do things. And what you've seen is really just the beginning. We have lists of features that we didn't have time to complete. We only had maybe 5 or 6 weeks to put that together, and we tried to get it out there as quickly as possible because that's our development cycle. We release things as quickly as we can to get feedback and then iterate and keep releasing in better quality. So what we have out there is just a small taste of what we have capable of.
So do you have already a favorite shoutcaster? You don't have to call them out, but do you already have someone that you look for, they're going to do a great job announcing a match?
I actually have some old school shoutcasters that I loved back in my Tribes days that don't shoutcast anymore. So I would love for them to come back. I would love for them to look at Firefall and go, oh man, that game looks awesome. I want to start shoutcasting that again. So War Witch Pub Night, you guys, come on back.
So, we got the esports stuff down. You went through a pretty substantial update recently. I mean, really huge. The whole way in which you interact with your character in the game has been changed. What was it? Obviously, it was iteration and moving on from that. But what were some of the design decisions behind that?
Well, so because Firefall is not a traditional MMO, when we first started, we actually had a very MMO-heavy leveling system. You got experience, you leveled up your battle frame, and then you got new equipment. It doesn't really make sense in the type of game we wanted to create. This shooter where you have a lot of customization, a lot of options. And so we got feedback from the community about what do they really want, how much customization, what options do they want, how do they want to split things up. and took that and we sat down and said, how can we develop a system that provides all of these key features and really does a great job at it? And so we went for more of the collect experience and spend it on a tech tree so that you can customize what you want and then grow from there. It's a huge undertaking because those are core systems that have been completely ripped out and replaced. So that was a huge milestone for us. And again, we did it in like 2 months. So redesigning an entire game in 2 months and developing it and pushing it out. Granted, it's still not done yet. We've learned even more after we release this, and now we've got to iterate on those tech trees and iterate on how you collect experience and how you spend that experience. But just the fact that we're able to get it out there and the response we've gotten so far has been amazing.
So that's a pretty huge undertaking in and of itself. But then on top of that, you guys decided, you know what, we're going to tweak quite significantly a few of these battle frames, and you added that on top of it. You added a lot of speed to some aspects of the game. Again, what's driving those decisions? That
comes back to the majority of us having kind of that FPS competitive background. The games we like to play are Quake, Unreal, Tribes, a lot of the high-speed action shooters. We didn't really have that in the game we were building. Most shooters out there were faster than us, and we looked at it like, why? Well, we had some technical issues of latency and network traffic and trying to put hundreds of people in the same world at the same speed, and it was and jumping around and jetpacks and physics calculations. There's a lot of complicated calculations that happen, but why not dive into that, solve those problems and fix it and make it more fun? And so that's really what it comes down to. Is it more fun? And we think so.
Well, I know I've been playing a lot of Assault, and the difference in the speed that I'm able to do with that is quite significant.
Yeah, when you see, so we just recently had a tournament at Gamescom, and we watched some of the demos from that, and you see a guy running super fast, and then he jumps in the air, does an afterburner, and then cannonballs across the map, and just gets a health pack, then does the same thing and returns. Yeah. It's like, wow, that was awesome. That's reminiscent of strafe jumping, double rocket jumping across the map to get the red armor, and you just get that feeling of like, oh man, that was awesome.
Yeah. No, it's coming along really, really well. So we are at the point now, we talked about it earlier here, where no more wipes, you've opened the store, going free to play. What was the core decision? I mean, there's a lot of different things you can talk about. Everybody goes different ways, but really when you get down to it, what drove you finally to the free to play? Definitely that's the way we got to go.
So it's interesting because when we announced that we were free to play, it was actually a shocking announcement. Nowadays it's not, right? But we announced in September 2010, and very few AAA games were free to play. You had some on the market, like League of Legends had just come out and really started to prove itself out there. But most of the free-to-play games were copies of games from Asia and the Eastern Europe, and they weren't received very well in the Western market. So when we showed off Firefall as this high-quality AAA game, and we were going to release it for free, people were shocked and amazed. And it was really just a decision of Mark saw the future and saw that free-to-play is not something that is just for crappy games that come out or low-quality ports of games that we can move over. You can create a free-to-play AAA quality game and make money on it, and he really wanted to prove that to people. And I think right now we don't even have to anymore because other people have already proved it for us, and we've got the game to back it up. So.
Yeah. So it's having gone through a lot of free-to-play transitions, a lot of games that I've played and that we cover have gone from being a paid game to a free-to-play game. It's the stickler is always what's in the store. Yeah. The first thought, for whatever reason, although it doesn't seem to be the norm nowadays, is this going to be pay to win? Yeah. That's a big thing with a free-to-play game nowadays. How are you guys handling that that misconception?
Well, it's actually not a misconception. Most games do end up going some kind of pay to win, and that's unfortunate. We've made a very adamant statement that we do not want to sell anything that's pay to win. So we don't want to sell anything that's going to increase your power of your weapons or your armor. We're a skill-based shooter. You remove that component by adding something that you can just buy to get that skill. What's the point of having a skill-based shooter? So the things that we're selling in the store right now are things like convenience items, like XP boost and resource boost. It saves you time, but you still have to go out there and do the work. We're also selling things like cosmetics, hairstyles, beards, different war paint colors and things like that. Some of the stuff you can get in the Founders Pack are like motorcycles and additional XP boosts and tiki masks and pets and things like that. So it's all convenience and cosmetics in order to customize yourself, because we're not just a arena-based shooter. We have this massive open world. You can really show off your battle frame and show off your character and have a very unique class. So those are the things we're focused on. to avoid all that need to sell any kind of PVA or pay to win stuff.
So you go home, you had a long day at the office, you go home, you sit down at your computer, you boot up Firefall. What's your battle frame and what's your play style?
I tend to go with the assault. Again, going back to Try's background, I feel like the plasma cannon is very much like a spin fuser, so I like to jet above people and just rain down and damage from above. The speed is amazing. The abilities to combo into it are really great. The sad part about my experience in Firefall is that I end up going into the world and then answering questions the entire time. And like 2 hours will pass and I've just been chatting the entire time. And then I'll be like, well, I need to at least get one map in and I'll go play. So.
Yeah, it hasn't changed. 3 times we've met now, and each time I always wonder, is it going to change? Because there's so many different tweaks that you're making to the game. Is it? But you know, you're pretty consistent. I guess that's a good thing.
It is. I love my assault. They keep changing it on me, and I keep fighting for it, but I love my assault. That's not to say all the other battle frames are worse. The biotech is amazing. The new iteration you mentioned before, we've removed a class and added one. The medic has turned into the biotech, a completely different play style, and so that's a lot of fun to experience. So it's fun to play whatever I can get a hold of, but if I'm going to just go out there and have some fun, relaxing, it's going to be an assault.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for your time. It's wonderful to see you again, and I really think I'm having a good time in Firefall. I think everybody should go check it out. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.